We have John with us here today. He's been coming to our events for a number of years, and he's the chairman of the board for StoreSuite LLC, a vertically integrated self-storage platform that's asset-backed with self-storage properties. He's helped create 3 companies worth an estimated $300 million and exited 2 of them for $115 million and $92 million, respectively. John's also a published author of a book appropriately named The Working Class Guide to Building Wealth with Self-Storage.
I brought you a gift.
Awesome.
The book.
The book. Great. Thank you very much. What would you add about your background before we get started?
Used to be a Chippendale dancer. Not really. What? Hopefully this will be fun for the last part of the day. Your guys' rich is feeling awkward already. Good. I spent 17 years in retail, like the Walmarts and Kmarts of the world. Learned business with them. Been a student of business my whole life, just fascinated by it. And so transitioned into storage, which is technically retail. We sell empty space. So pretty easy transition. It's sales. So from there, started my career with one of the REITs. I was a regional vice president for what was Uncle Bob's, turned into Life Storage, turned into Extra Space. So I was a regional vice president for them. And then I went to Houston with a regional operator and was their COO. So I always say I learned to run them at Uncle Bob's. I learned to buy them and fix them up at the Jenkins organization and got fired from both of those jobs. Can't keep a job. And best thing ever happened, I went out on my own 9 years ago, and I've done about $170 million worth of storage since.
Awesome. Congrats. So a lot of people get into real estate, invest their own money. Some start syndicating, gathering up capital from others. Very few people get to 30 million, 50 million, 100 million in assets. And I want to see how that's connected to the fact that I remember 7 or 8 years ago, you coming to one of our events and you wore a similarly unique jacket that stood out. Everyone else had their conservative blue and black jackets on. And so I wanted to connect those two things. I mean, I don't remember what I wore 7 years ago, but I remember what you wore. And so, have you just been wildly different with your approach to everything in the storage business? So
yes and no. So obviously I have a different type of personality than a lot of people, and I embrace that. I think people learn better when they're laughing. So I use humor. And, we're a vertically integrated self-storage company, right? So we do marketing for the storage industry. So why not do it for us? So years ago, Christine Alvina, who's our CEO, bought me a Steelers jacket like this because I'm a Steelers fan. And based on Shinesty, they have the cookies that come up on your things, and it said you can get them in custom jackets. So she said, what do you think? So we sent them the logo for our old brand, Pinnacle Storage Properties. They sent us back like 8 different designs. And I said, that's the ugliest one. I want that one. And it started. Best $250 I ever spent.
Fantastic.
Then we rebranded a year and a half ago into StoreSuite. We combined all the companies that we own together, rebranded under StoreSuite. And I gotta give my mom a plug. My mom made this jacket. So she was a professional seamstress, retired. So I went and bought the fabric, shipped it to her house in Pittsburgh. She made the jacket. I bought the lining. If you look, our logo's an owl. I've got owl buttons all over it. So, and how do you stand out in a crowd of navy and gray suits? I've raised $52 million in this jacket. I think the 250 paid for itself. What do you think?
I mean, do you fear or think that there is a percentage of investors that are like, oh, he's not wearing the formal robotic attire of, finance professionals? Have you gotten that feedback or had people guess that happens?
So I always say money doesn't change you. Money makes you who you are. So if you're an asshole, you're just a bigger asshole, right? So I like to think I wake up every day to be a good person. So you can't judge me like I judge me. So I don't care. And that's what you get. Like, you get honesty and transparency, everything that they were just saying on stage, right? You get what you get. So I just don't like wearing suits. I like wearing boots and jeans. So I found something that works for us and works for me and my personality.
Great. Well, what about when you first got started and got momentum? Again, a lot of people own 1 or 2 or 3 storage units. What made the difference of you scaling up and not getting stuck in the minor leagues?
Luck, accidental. Like, there's a couple people in the room that have been part of my journey and everything. And so when I went out on my own, I bought my first property in Boerne, Texas. Prior to going out on my own, I kept a list in the back of my book of people that said, if you ever buy a property, I'll invest with you, which blew my mind at the time. So I made the list and I started saying, well, how much are you thinking? And they'd go 50, 100, 200, whatever. And I was like, holy crap, somebody's going to give me $200,000? So I wrote it down in my book. So when I went out on my own, I had 11 people in my book. I thought I could raise $400,000 or $500,000. The first deal was a $1.5 million raise with a partner of mine. They're coming to get me. I got to go. I raised 900 of it. He raised 600 of it. And of the 600 that he raised, he put 200 of it in. I left my fee in, which was $33,000. And I put $67,000 of my own money and kicked myself the whole time. Because I only had $160,000 in the bank at the time. That was not a bad decision. Because fast forward 5.5 years later, I made $1.8 million when I sold that property, like a $100,000 investment. Not bad. So from there, I just started building momentum, and people heard this and heard that, and you build credibility. I built a lot of credibility. This is my 20th year in storage, by the way. So I built a lot of credibility of going out and teaching people how to do this by being on stage. So I would teach them revenue management. I'd teach them how to hire a store manager, like whatever operational thing, never knowing that I'd be able to raise any type of money. So after I got the first deal, raised $900,000, me and Robbie Dunn became partners, started finding deals and raising money, and it just started building. And kind of by accident.
Awesome. Was there a light bulb moment when it came to raising capital or scaling operations when you'd realized you'd really figured out at another level? Like when it starts happening by accident, you kind of go with it and you're moving along at a certain speed. Was there a certain point where it just really took off from there?
Yeah, I always say this, and I was teaching Jose this last night at the bar, wherever he is. Get in the right room, right? So this is the right room. I don't care how you look at it. And what they were saying a little bit ago is find your resources once you're in that room. Then the third thing I teach is give to those resources for free with no expectation of anything in return. And at some point, it's kind of cool that you can have an ask at that point, right? So I say, then go back and have the ask. And that's what started to happen is I said yes to everything. You reached out to me, and I think I spoke in Phoenix with Brett Tree that time in the panel. And you said, do you want to? I literally flew in and flew out and stayed at the hotel near the airport because I had so much on my schedule. And I said yes to all kinds of stuff. I think that's truly what built the momentum, is being in the right rooms. I was in a lot of wrong rooms too, but you got to say yes to find out what the right room is. So because of that, it was easy to then start to figure out what the right rooms were. So I would ask some pre-qualifying questions.
Cool. I had a chance to interview Tony Robbins. It's on billionaires.com. And one of his top 3 pieces of advice was just the power of proximity, being in the right rooms, with the right people. And then several billionaires have said that more important than anything, what they can say about what you can do is who you know matters more than what you do. So being around the right people, being in the right rooms matters more than getting a checklist of actions you should take at any one point in time. And I guess that's partially what you're saying here is like get in the right network. What about for people here in the room that are feeling defeated from high interest rates, high competition? They feel like their real estate niche is now saturated. Maybe they have low team morale. They're raising less capital in this environment. less cash flow in some of their deals. Some managers feel a bit beat up right now in the market. What would you say to them, given all your 20 years experience?
Come see me. I'll give you a hug. I don't know. No. We're going through the same thing, right? So I saw Tyson speak at the California Self-Storage Conference last week. He's from Yardi. And he did, they have 25 million units or something in their platform. And he did a presentation. Everybody's gone through it. The guy was going to joke around and say, come hang out with me for a minute and I'll put a smile on your face. But outside of that, I think somebody on the last panel said, be transparent, for your investors and stuff. Don't run and hide. One of the things I pride myself on, regardless of easy conversations or hard conversations, doesn't matter. I always answer my phone. Always. So the best thing you can do is answer your phone and go through those awkward moments and go through those conversations, whether it's with your team member. Just don't give up. Be as pig-headed as we've been and as stubborn as we've been. And particularly in real estate, we go through cycles, right? So time heals that wound. Money helps, but time heals that wound too. So it's always better on the other side once you get there.
Awesome. So why did you sell the platform of storage assets or the other sale? When should people sell and start over with a clean slate? How did you kind of come to peace with the decision to sell?
Oh, yeah, that's a funny story. Why are you laughing? So we had a board meeting. We went to Cancun. We used one of my timeshares because we didn't have any money, right? So I used one of my timeshares. We meet in Cancun, all of us on the board, and I was dead set. That's why she's laughing. I was dead set against selling. Got in a full-blown argument with all my partners. And I started shopping to do a recapitalization at the time. And at the time, cap rates are in the 4s, right, for storage. And the best offers I got were 6 caps on my portfolio. And I kept saying to the big money that was trying to recapitalize us, why would I give me personally, $3 million of my own personal money to you for the last 7, 8 years that I've worked my ass off for? Well, we needed some type of balance sheet, liquidity, and so on. Got an argument with them, came back home to Houston, started talking through it, and I realized that if I cashed out and only put that money to work at a 5% return on investment, I would cash flow the same as I was cash flowing by not having that liquidity. So, and they made me realize that on paper. So I needed more data. The reason I didn't want to sell is because I didn't want to lay people off. We're a people first company and we pride ourselves on taking care of our team. And we look for that in return. So it's not just a one-way street. But I didn't want to lay people off. And I had a moral obligation to not only them as employees, but their families, their kids, everything like that. I was putting food on their table. So I didn't want to sell. So in the end, when we sold, we still didn't lay anybody off.
Nice.
We used our liquidity to keep the company going. We went from 27 properties all the way down to 6. Because we sold one-offs even after that. And we've rebuilt back to 21 now. And through the merger, we now have 70 or 80 employees, something like that. So we've actually even grown even bigger.
Awesome. Congrats. What about any mistakes along the way that wasted months or years of your life or millions of dollars that just others could avoid by hearing you talk about it? And it might not be real estate related. It could just be managing the team.
That's called Tuesday. Man, I could list a whole bunch of mistakes we've made. Found a broker on our 3rd property, paid him a $46,000 underwriting fee. He gave us a term sheet for 6.5% interest at the time when interest rates were in that thing. Came back 3 weeks before closing and told me, no, it's 9%. And it wasn't worth the paper it was written on. It was a $46,000 mistake. So when you have no money, at that time, I only had about 70 grand in the bank. So that really, really hurts when that happens. So, that's one mistake. I learned to do better due diligence on people like that and use different types of money and so on. Our biggest pain point of mistakes have been banks, so to speak. Getting to the last minute and the salesperson tells you one thing and what's in the contract something different. So I learned to, why are you shaking your head? You've had that pain. I've learned to ask for the contract up front before I say yes, that we're going to start dating or I'm going to hold your hand and get married. So some of those mistakes throughout time has made our behaviors different.
What about when you're conducting due diligence on people or assets? What are some insights you could provide to investors here in the room?
Storage due diligence is pretty easy. I mean, you do a lock check, you do a maintenance check, you do a capital improvement check. So some of the things that we've learned is the vendors that we continually use to have them show up the day of due diligence with you so that you can give them guidance instead of showing up a week before, because typically the sellers get a little bit mad at that kind of stuff because it's not pre-scheduled, or showing up a week or two afterwards because they don't look for what you would look for while you're there. So from a due diligence standpoint, we've taken upward of 10 team members to a due diligence and busted out in like 3 hours. And we bring 6 vendors, roofing, HVAC, door. We typically repaint them and stuff. So all of that, we have all those vendors show up the day of due diligence.
Sure. So a lot of people here have closed real estate transactions, and you learn lessons over time, how to deal with real estate brokers, how to negotiate things like that. Most people here haven't had $100 million exits, and you've effectively had a couple of them now. So whether somebody's having a 5 or 10 or a much larger exit, what are a couple bullet points of lessons you've learned the hard way for people in here? Because it's not something you go through 20 times in your life or 50 times. So what could you share with the room on navigating exits?
So one of the things we did by accident that worked out for us is, along the way, we had a financial analyst by the name of Ross Smolin, and we created Fovent Capital with them. And if you know what the word Fovent means, it means stubborn and determined and tenacious, right? So, and that's Ross. One of the things we did by accident is on the transaction of sale, we had Ross representing us on our side as a middle company in between us and the REIT. So he got really good at telling our story. He got really good at understanding what we needed and what we wanted and everything like that. He created this document Excel worksheet that we call the SOC now. I do not know what those 3 letters stand for, but it's called the SOC. And we were able to move things around to see whether their offers were good or not good and things like that. So what I learned by accident on an exit of that size is have a specialty person that's on your side in the middle of it. There was interest in him because he got a fee for it, but he represented us in that transaction, and that was done solely by accident. So we didn't use a broker to sell. I know all the major players, so I took it to 7 of the major players directly. I didn't use a commercial real estate broker, so I didn't have to pay $1 million worth of fees or anything. So I paid Ross a fee, and he made a chunk of money.
Awesome. If you think about what makes you different than others out there, obviously you mentioned the cowboy boots, being authentic, being team first, having the grit and discipline, being genuine, having a sense of humor. What have you not mentioned related to how you think makes you able to scale platforms to $100 million when most people can't get a tenth of the way there?
For me personally, I'm a visual thinker and I'm a visual learner. So when I teach visually. So growing up as a kid, I was dyslexic. So I like to read, but it has to interest me. I'm a hyperactive person. I don't know if you can tell that or not, but so when I read, my mind wanders. I learned through the years to give myself permission while I'm reading to let my mind wander. I learned a little technique for you ADD people in the room is put your finger where you were, let your mind wander. Eventually, the mind stops wandering, right? And then you go back to it. So, interesting enough, how I'm different in my head is I can put the pieces of the puzzle together in my head visually by dumbing it down for myself. So you get in a room with people like you guys, and you guys want to use all these fancy words and shit, and I don't. But I want to learn what they are. So I say, I love being the dumbest person in the room. When you use a word that I don't understand, I'm the guy that goes, hold on, what's that mean? And you go, well, and you explain what it means to me. And I go, okay. And I can visually connect that to the pieces of the puzzle, where I think a lot of people can't do that. It drives them crazy from me being on the board. You can ask her. It drives her nuts. Because I go, no. Because if this does that, and that does this, and that, and that's why it won't work, or that's why it will work. And they go, how the hell did you get there so fast? Because I move it all around in my head visually. I'm way different that way.
I know you said that you really got started raising capital, getting your first few facilities almost on accident, but then was it a vision to grow it to 100 million? Or was the whole thing just kind of like unfolding in front of you without that vision?
Robbie thought we'd do 4 deals in 5 years, and we did 52 in 8. So it's totally by accident. Like, I'm not that smart, guys. Like, it was by accident, really.
Great. Final question. Any final thoughts on kind of negotiating great deals, sharp terms, good valuations, closing investors? Anything else you want to add that we haven't covered?
No, you got to be pretty. That helps, right? Or had to. You have to see. The biggest thing I think is trying to be try to be authentic and be who you are and be transparent. Like, one of the things that really bothers me, and like, if you ask anybody inside our company, like, I want to work to be a good person every day. And because of that, when you say, like, all you guys know this, well, my pref is this and my IRR is that and blah, 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 blah. And then 2023 and 24 happens. So what do? Like, so what you do is you be transparent and you be honest. And I know I highlighted that a little bit, but I really think that that's how you continue to build credibility, is by telling them what's happening and what's not happening, and don't sugarcoat it. That's the thing you get from me, is I'm blunt in a positive way. But the best I can tell you is don't run from them. Don't hide from them. Tell them what's going on.
Awesome. That's great. Let's give them a big round of applause. Thank you.
Thank you.
Join the Family Office Club by visiting familyoffices.com. We look forward to seeing you at our next live event.
If you are a founder, raising capital, developing real estate, or you're an investor, we'd love for you to get involved in the Family Office Club. I've run this community for 18 years now. We've hosted 300 live events. We have 17 million social media group members and followers. We have the #1 YouTube channel on family offices. We have the #1 most popular podcast on family offices. You can learn more about us and our membership options at familyoffices.com. We have 30 in-person events planned in 2026 and another dozen events this year. Please go to familyoffices.com to learn more.